Hey there, VC. Dennis back with another video. I think it's the first one I've done since this whole quarantine thing started. Um, I wanted to do more, but it's got me, kind of had me in a little bit of a funk. But just being in Michigan, the stay-at-home order thing, um, and then been kind of out of work. I've been more or less laid off, but we're still getting paid for it. So I mean that's been nice. I feel a lot luckier than a lot of people around the country are right now. Um, but just being in the state with the rates that we have, and then we have these idiots downstate in Lansing protesting. Uh, it gets you in a sort of mood. Um, but I saw a video uploaded either today or last night from Dylan at Noble Records for Vinyl Tag, a quarantine edition. And I really like that idea. I don't think I got around to doing a vinyl tag this year. Um, Kind of by the time I came up with the list and everything, it was like February. So it's like, well, what's the point? It's kind of meant more for the beginning of the year, and so I say screw it. But this one I thought was kind of interesting. I don't have a couple vinyl versions of some of the albums here, and I don't have the CD versions in front of me, so I'll just mention it briefly and move on. Uh, so yeah, like I said, Dylan came up with this along with one of his commenters, I guess, on his channel. Came up with a list of questions, and I think they're interesting. So, number one is favorite record from your home state or city. Well, I grew up in Podunk, Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and I have a couple of CDs from local bands, um, but I don't have them readily available. Otherwise, I would show those. Um, and I was gonna go with another album here, but I decided to show that later. Also because might not be my favorite, but this is probably one of my favorite Michigan bass bands, and that's the White Stripes. And I just chose Elephant. White Blood Cells is up there. Icky Thump's good. I like pretty much all of their albums that I've heard. I don't have any of the live stuff in the vaults, but Elephant, it's a classic. This is a Record Store Day edition, I believe. Um, but not much more to say about that, I don't think. Either you know them or you don't. You love them or you don't. Um, Album you highly recommend. I've talked about this a lot recently, but Stan Rogers, Between the Breaks Live. Canadian folk singer. It's a live album. Contains a lot of, just good songs from top to bottom on both sides. And it's fairly cheap, I would imagine, too. Plus, I think they just started reissuing a lot of his stuff here recently. So your tip for beginners. Don't be afraid to, well, a couple of things. One, it's not really a tip, but just if you're flipping through the dollar bins, or you have an extra $5-10 to spend, you see an album that you don't know much about, just cold buy it, pick it up, listen to it. You might find something good. You might find maybe you don't like the album in general, but you like the overall sound, so you look into that genre more, and you find something neat there. But one thing that I've learned, especially when it comes to represses, is you want to learn how to use Discogs a little bit. So that means either most of the stuff has barcodes now, so you can just scan the barcode and look it up. But you want to take a look at generally the reviews. Now on the website, that's easy enough. You find the release, you scroll to the bottom, it's right there. But in the apps, it's a little bit different, and I can't speak for the iOS. I only have iPhone for work. But on the Android, app. Up near the top, you see like your star information. If you click on that, it brings up a little pop up that says reviews. Click on that if you're curious about how the pressing is. Because sometimes it might say it's audiophile, 180 gram, remastered from the original, whatever. But when you look through reviews, they're all like, it sounds flat, it sounds like garbage. It's the same thing as a repress from a couple years ago. And so that way, you're not disappointed when you get home. Um, Now you probably don't want to sit in a store and do it to every single album, right? Um, but just be aware that that's a thing, and even if it says that it's been mastered for vinyl or whatever, it can still just sound bad. Now sometimes it's just a bad copy that somebody got, but there's multiple reviews saying the same thing. Chances are it's there's something there. Let's see here. Number 4. That the previous one was Tip for Beginner. If I didn't mention that at the top. The first record that really got you into deeper music. This is one that I don't have in front of me, but it's a toss up a little bit. But I'm just gonna go with Godsmack's self-titled album. I think I heard probably Voodoo when it was on the radio back in the day. But my cousin let me rip a lot of her CDs that she had, and one of them was the original Godsmack, and this was probably middle school when I was first kind of discovering music a little bit more. Maybe freshman year of high school. I don't remember. And I liked it. It was metal, but it's not heavy. It's not scary. And but I listened to that thing to death. Moved on to Wake and Faceless and the rest of their discography, and then it eventually led me to Iron Maiden and Slayer and Halloween and whatever else. So I don't know what deeper music is supposed to be, but to me, it led me down that metal genre where I don't know if I would ever really have touched it as much as I did, or it might have taken me a lot longer to get there. So Godsmack, hell yeah. An obscure record people may not know about, number 5. I feel weird calling this obscure because it's relatively new. It was pressed by Third Man back in 2018, but it's from an obscure location, I guess. But it's A-Moms equal Algebra Mothers. Basically, this was just it's from Detroit, Cass Tech High School. The band formed in 1977. I'm just reading out the hype sticker here. They released a 45 RPM record, a single basically, in 1979. So the album contains songs that were recorded in either home studios or in clubs between the years 1977 and 84. And then I believe they got back together shortly after this at Third Man, maybe, for a reunion show. So it was kind of neat. Here, I'll take it out of the sleeve. So you have them back in the 70s, 80s, what have you. On the back, you have them a little bit more recently, which is kind of neat. And it says RIYL, which I'm pretty sure, like, if you like these bands, which has Pure Ubo, Roxy Music, Devo, and the Stranglers. Yeah, I mean, it's if you don't like that, tin cans sort of sound and that the really cheap sort of recording, you're definitely not gonna like this. You know, it is what it is, right? It was recorded in either live sets or in home studios. And not like anything was super professionally done, except for probably the mastering on this. Um, but you know, it's one of those kind of regional music sounds that never really came out of the region. Um, but I don't know if they still have it on their website or if you actually have to go into a third man location now to get. I don't know what the stock is like. Um, but I can't imagine on the secondary market it's very expensive, right? Um, but if you want to hear something just interesting, a product of its age, uh, go ahead, pick this thing up. There's a couple of tracks by Algebra Mothers on YouTube. I don't think it's really anything off of here except maybe another take on a song. Um, but yeah, check it out. Um, a group that you collect all their albums or try to. Of course, like I said, the White Stripes is one of them. I have all of their CDs, I believe. I'm just working on their studio albums now on vinyl. Um, except for their live early Volt stuff because that's just expensive. I'm hoping that they repackage all that in either a box set with just plain black vinyl or just normal tip-on covers and without all the extras and make it a little bit more affordable for us laymen. Um, but I don't have any of these in sleeves. Anyways, but one that I do have all in both CD and vinyl now, I believe, is Arcade Fire. This is their first LP, Funeral. It's just a fantastic band. Definitely not up everybody's alley. But I started listening to these guys after their second album, Neon Bible, was released. And I'll fully admit it, I torrented it. You know, growing up where I did, our Sam Goody had closed a long time ago. You know, so we had Walmart. And so I downloaded Neon Bible, loved it, and I actually found like a special edition of Neon Bible at Walmart like a year later. So I ended up picking that up, and then as I found the CDs when I went to, you know, whether it was like a Green Bay or Detroit or whatever, you know, I picked them up as I went along. And then I found a good deal for all the LPs. So I picked those up too. So I don't have like the singles like I think for Everything Now. You know, they released like singles for like damn near every song. And I don't have any of those. I'm not a big 45 guy. I can take them or leave them. A band whose second album is better than their first. This is gonna be a little bit of controversy for those that like the band, but this is for me. So Arcade Fire. So I mean, Funeral is amazing. It's a great album. But with the exception of maybe like Reflector, I think they almost get better and better as they move along. And I mean, it definitely shows on the professional level because their second to last album did win them a Grammy, right? It took them like 4 albums to get there. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean it's better, you know, or whatever. It just hit the right chord with people. But because this album was my first introduction to Arcade Fire, it holds a much more special place in my heart than Funeral does. You know, to me, I know the songs a lot better. And again, it's just my opinion, man. Show and tell a whack-a-mole or random pick. So, whack-a-mole comes from another channel called, his name's Norman Maslov. I think the channel name's the same. Where he'll just, you know, run his hands along his shelves and picks out a random album. Instead of doing that, I just went to Discogs where I have 98% of my records and CDs listed at. Some of my CDs that aren't on there are just the independent, obscure ones that I just need to take the time and input. And then there's a handful of records that just slip past me. Normally, I'd get them home from the record store or from the mail or whatever. Check them out and then put them into Discogs. But a couple of times I didn't, I guess. So I just did the random button until I hit a piece of wax instead of a CD. And it actually hit one that I've never listened to. I picked this up at the exclusive company in Green Bay, Wisconsin, years ago. I don't even know when it came out. I do have it up here, so I can talk about it a little bit more. Looks like it came out in 2010, so I would have picked it up probably 11 or 12 because there's a discount tag on it. But anyways, it is from a band called Dr. Dog. It's a 2-record 7-inch 45. Actually, I have the limited edition numbered version of it. I don't know what it's numbered out of though. Yeah, you know what? I honestly don't know. And it just says limited edition and numbered, but it doesn't actually list how many were actually produced. But it contains 4 new songs. The reason why I picked it up in the first place, by the way, I have number 57, is because if you look on here, nothing is really in English. It's just a sticker on the outside of the sleeve, and it just has a price tag and a discount on it. And you know what? The back's the same way, except it has a little bit like the copyright information. And then even on the inside of the gatefold, it doesn't have anything. Let's see here. LP. It's the same way. See if the sleeves have it. It's been ages since I've looked at this. So it has a little bit of an insert. Again, all in this kind of made up symbol. But it has, this is according to Discogs, in the inside cover, the left side features the symbols and represents the order. Okay, so this is apparently A through Z. Which, I mean, the A and the Z definitely makes sense, right? So somebody took the time and actually deciphered what all this is. And so they have some of these songs up on YouTube. Of course, like on Discogs, it has the videos. And it sounds like something I've heard before, but I can't quite place it. Definitely not unpleasant, but yeah. So that was the Whack-A-Mole. I don't know what else to really say about it. Other than the genre is rock, but the style is a lo-fi indie rock sort of sound. Moving on. What album have you listened to the most in your life? This was a hard one, so I just kind of went with the one that kind of came to mind first. And this is because back in high school, when I first discovered it, which would have been from my parents' 8-track of it, I believe. And then I ended up going to the used record store, found the CD of it, and then just listened to that thing to death. And I've talked about this thing multiple times, and I will probably continue to do so. But Meatloaf's Bad Outta Hell. This is the Friday's reissue of it, which, I mean, unless you just want to spend a couple bucks, get an original pressing of it, I highly recommend the Fridays. It sounds way cleaner than even like the CD version did. Of course, the 8-track. They cleaned it all up. It sounds freaking amazing. When I first listened to this, it was like listening to it for the first time, and it brought tears to my eyes. I mean, otherwise everything's pretty much the same, other than it has Friday stuff on it. And it's a gatefold. Now, Um, but yeah, just Meatloaf's Bad Out of Hell, just freaking amazing. I love that album. I'm going to skip number 10, which is show an album with a crazy story. I don't. Oh no, never mind. I just moved it down here. Um, I was looking through for another album here, and um, I found this one that I kind of forgot about somehow. But so for a crazy story, it's Sly and the Family Stone. Sly and the Family Stone alive at Woodstock, Sunday, August 17th, 1969. So what's crazy about this? Well, um, so if you know much about Woodstock, it was a bit of a mess right from the get go. Right? They had the greatest intentions. Don't get me wrong, but between basically it becoming a free show for everybody that showed up, the mess it made of the area, just for the amount of people that showed up, the food, the drugs, all that. Um, like none of the bands outside of maybe the first day went on time, and that includes Sly. Um, so I can't remember the exact story. I guess I could look it up, but I believe the story goes something like these guys said were delayed by hours, and so it's like the middle of the, or it's like early morning, like 2 3 in the morning. They've been up all day. They've probably been drinking. They've probably been doing drugs, and then they go. The organizers are like, "Hey, you guys are up next." And then what happens? These guys come up on stage and rock the fucking socks off these people, right? If they're awake. It was on like early in the last day, but they end up having a nine song set and just right from top to bottom, just awesome. Um, but I mean, I couldn't even imagine just how exhausted the whole band must have felt, and just to go up and give it their all still is just awesome to me. Um, Number 11, you're collecting pet peeves. Dylan really hit it on the head when it comes to gatekeeping. And that's anything from, what people call it to, um, if you like, either certain bands or whatever, um, shitting all over, say, Crosley's and all that. Yeah, we get it. Crosley, record players might not be great. But, for somebody that's just getting into the hobby, they don't know if they want to, continue on with it. Why would somebody pay $200 when you can pay, like 60 $80? And now there's players that are coming out, sub $100, that'll do the job better than a Crosley, you know. But the the hobby just isn't for everybody. If somebody just wants to listen to, their favorite, I don't know, new album on wax, a Taylor Swift record on wax, just let them have it. Just let them enjoy the hobby for how they want to enjoy it. If the record gets beat up and they ask why, be like, hey, well, it's because you have a Crosley. They're not great by nature, you know. But just to shit all over people, it's not a good look. But beyond that, one thing that just annoys me, just from the way it sounds in my ear, is when people says vinyls. Now, I mean, it's a little bit annoying to hear records referred to as vinyl or vinyls, but I can deal with it. That doesn't matter. It's just the word vinyls, just it comes off the tongue weird to me. It hits the ear weird, so it makes me cringe a little bit. But you're just like, oh, either not everybody's a native speaker, what have you. It's not that big of a deal. It's just, it just makes me cringe a little bit because, again, the ear sound. An album or genre people would be surprised to listen to, number 12. I think I've talked about most of the genres that I like on here. There's another album a little bit later that I chose that could be in this spot. But I I like some hip hop. So I just chose the greatest or Wu-Tang Clan's greatest hits. You know, Enter the Wu or excuse me, Legend of the Wu-Tang. This is a Newberry Comics version of it, which I guess is actually numbered. I never saw that before. Uh, anyways, yeah, I don't know what to say. Like, you know, everybody either has a favorite genre or subgenre, whatever. Um, when it comes to, I'll say hip hop, I'm not a huge fan of, um, in my head, what I would consider just like rap. I can most of that I can just either take or leave it. Some stuff I really like. Most stuff, I don't know, I don't. And the same thing's true with hip hop. If somebody advertises something as hip hop, I'm more likely to try it than rap, if that makes sense. But even in this genre, I find myself enjoying um, your boom bap sort of hip hop style a little bit more than a lot of the other parts of it, and previous to that too, right? Your Run DMCs and the Grandmaster Flash and stuff leading up to that, to the boom bap and the Wu Tang sort of sound and all that. I don't know what else to say about that. Again, it's not that I hate everything else that comes after it or whatever. Just it's a genre that's really hit or miss. So I mean, look at me. I'm not your average like Wu Tang guy, right? Like, um, and by that I mean like I'm not rocking the headwear or shirts or anything like that. I'll just be singing in the car radio driving down the road. Um, the next one's 13. A record from the year you were born. So I had to look this up. I mean, I'm not great when it comes to years that albums came out, and I had some on CD, and one album I've been wanting to get on vinyl since I saw that they started reissuing a lot of their stuff. But the one album I had that I knew I had, because I was born in 1989, and my birthday's coming up on Sunday actually. So I was gonna try to find one that either came out on my birthday or like the nearest release date, but I didn't have any of that. But this is the recent Vinyl Me Please reissue of it. It was De La Soul's, was it 4 feet? 3 feet and rising, high and rising. Um, Again, another throwback to hip hop, right? Uh, it's a great album, great year. I don't know what to say about that. Show a 10-inch record and or share your opinion on 10 inches. Um, so I only have a couple of 10 inches. I have some weird pressing for My Fair Lady. I have some Mega Ran and Mini Bosses 10 inch that I got from Mega Ran at a show in Chicago. And I have this, which I actually almost missed. This was at our local, it's basically a head shop in town, that some guy leases out some space for and then has a bunch of LPs. So I was flipping through all the cheap stuff, which it's there for a reason. A lot of it's scratched or warped, or the covers are just mangled or kind of has some water damage on it. And this just being a 10 inch mixed in with a bunch of 12 inches, I almost missed it. But I saw like it flip from front to back real quick, and I recognized the cover. And that's Songs by Tom Layer. And this has Fight Fiercely Harvard, The Old Dope Peddler, Be Prepared, Lobachevsky, a couple other songs on here. But I believe this might be an original pressing of it. It's on this Laker Records 33 and a third long play. And actually, it doesn't have an inner sleeve or anything. There's, some light scuffing and all that going on, but I was really surprised at how clean this album actually is. Um, but but as for 10 inches in general, I certainly think there's a place for them. Um, I'm not a huge fan because it's just kind of a little bit of a weird size, right? Um, but in the modern day, I'll echo Dylan's view on it a little bit, and that like if you just gotta take off a couple of leave a couple of songs off, leave a little bit more space on a 12 inch, just do that. Like I can't imagine the process of pressing a 10 inch can be that much cheaper than just that of a 12 inch, especially because it's not like a whole lot of 10 inches get produced. I mean, unless there's one genre keeping it going. Like from what I understand, like a lot of like punk and hardcore stuff, was mostly put out on 7 inches, right? So somebody's doing the same thing with tens. Maybe it makes sense. Um, but I mean, I think for like the Mega Ran album, using it as like a sampler sort of thing between multiple artists, I think makes some sense. Um, Especially when you just want more than just one, maybe two songs on the side, right? Like you can I can say a 45, but not on a 7 inch. Um, but I mean, would I would I rather have this on a 10 inch or a 12? I'd rather have it on a 12. I mean, yeah, it stands out. It looks fine, but um, yeah. Again, so there's a place for 10 inches, but I'd much rather just deal with a 12 inch and throw it in line with everything else instead of feeling like I have to keep them separate rather than like losing them in the stack. Um, all right. Okay, yeah. An interesting fact about an album or song. Um, I didn't really have anything for that one. Um, so an album with an animal on the cover. I'm cheating on here a little bit because I'm gonna choose a fantasy creature or animal. Um, it's just because this was one of the first albums I believe I picked up when I actually started when I started collecting in earnest up here. Um, and it's Chase the Dragon by Magnum. And as you up the side, you can see there's a little dragony salamandery thing. Um, and just it's just an excellent metal album. I think it's like I'd call it maybe like a power metal ish. Um, excellent, excellent album. I've been trying to find more of these guys. I haven't been able to track any down locally. And this is one of these things where I'd much rather find like in person rather than just going on Discogs and buying. Call me weird. Um, but yeah, Magnum Chase the Dragon. There's a dragon and a little buddy up here. Um, I'm gonna say some weird tentacle things too, but that's just on the tree. Oh, let's see here. Show an album with crazy artwork. So I might have albums that have crazier artwork on it, but I just really wanted an excuse to talk about this band. Uh, this is Enigma's Love, Sensuality, and Devotion. It's their greatest hits, or his greatest hits album. Recently, I don't know, Universal, I guess. I have a German copy. Made in Germany. Bam. Um, they recently came out and reissued, I believe, all of their albums, all of Enigma's albums. Um, and I've been wanting to get them all because they all have a similar like cover treatment, and the artwork is similar in this. I don't know if they all have because this is a die cut up here, and the E down here or the epsilon down there. Um, but I mean, it's this is not the craziest artwork from the series. Um, but again, it's a group band. I'm not sure what you call Enigma. I think it's pretty much just one person, anyways. But project that I really love. Just this kind of you know ambient, just kind of a low key sort of sound to them. Um, and it's a bit different. Yeah, there's some crazy metal albums out there. There's some crazy psych albums. I was actually gonna show. I have a Tiny Tim bootleg album from one of his early, well, not early concerts. It was after Tiptoes. Um, that I was gonna show because it's like kind of like a hand drawn sort of thing. But I actually haven't listened to it yet. Whereas I haven't listened to the wax version of it. This is still sealed. Um, but I've listened to the CD version to death, and I love it. So I actually knew a little bit about this album. Excuse me. Moving on. Show a really good album that you can find for cheap. I don't know how you can go wrong with this album. I'm sure a ton of people are gonna show it, but it's Fleetwood Mac Rumors. I mean, you walk into a Goodwill, they probably gonna have a copy. Kidding, not kidding. Um, I mean, I don't really think I need to say much about Rumors. Um, I mean, just from top to bottom, it's a great album. Um, and it's a lot like I can't remember somebody in the VC. I think it might have been Chris Tunes from the Man Cave that might have said like, people are coming over. You just want to put it on an album that's not going to like insult anybody because of course everybody has their different tastes. He mentioned he throws on Creedence Clearwater Revival, right? Because I mean, who doesn't like CCR? Who's gonna be offended by CCR? To me, I think it's the same way with Fleetwood Mac, and the song in particular. I paid $13 Canadian for a good VG copy of this. You can definitely find it for cheaper. I mean, 13 Canadian at the time was probably like $9 or $10 US. So you can probably find it pretty much anywhere for under $10. Um, and you're not gonna regret it. As long as you don't have an aversion to 80s music. I think it's 80s. Um, it's great. Um, Shown down with an acquired taste. Um, I I mean like Enigma could have been one. Stan Rogers could be one because it's just kind of that weird folk genre. Joan Baez, any sort of, I mean, pretty much any genre can have it, right? But then I remembered um, I have two single albums of this guy, and I actually recently found that I have a box set of his too. I must have picked up at like a Goodwill years and years ago. Um, and it's a little bit of a guilty pleasure. I don't listen to him very often. Just usually when I need to get stuff done, want some music in the background. I don't have to concentrate on anything because I don't speak Italian. Uh, but I chose just Pavarotti. One of the great one of the great tenors. Um, Either you like him or you don't. I guess I don't know as much for an acquired taste, but this could also have gone into what was it? A genre album or genre. You'd be surprised. But yeah, Pavarotti. And then the last one, show your most recent find. These aren't really finds so much as orders. And I let the most recent Follow Me Please out there. Cause this is actually the most recent thing I got. So a month or so, probably close to 2 months now, maybe month, whatever. I believe it was Orgy Music. Was having a little sale for these like blind boxes. I think they were like 25 or $30. Shipping included. Where they would pick out a couple of 12 inches and like a 7 inch and send them to you. Basically, there's no real way to like lose money on the deal. So I looked through their catalog a bit, and saw that there's only a couple of either bands or genres or whatever that where I would be like upset at getting because I don't like them too much. And this is what I ended up getting from them. I don't know much about. I mean, I don't know much about like any of them, but I actually know one of the artists here and all that. But I'm not super upset. This one I honestly don't know much about. It's Mike Watt and the Second Men, Back in the Microwave. According to this, it's a limited edition, only 1,500 copies available worldwide, and pressed on blood red vinyl. It contains Microwave Up in Flames, recorded in 2014, and then Chronics is side 2. Or, sorry, Mike Watt and the Second Men are playing Microwave Up in Flames. The band Chronics is playing I Backed Up Into Myself, which is also written by Watt. And that was recorded in 15. I know there's a lot of glare. There you go. I literally don't know anything about this. I just opened this up the other day. And then I'll go to this one next. It's the Sun Record Company, The Other Side of Sun, Part 2. Curated by Record Store Day, Volume 5. I don't really have anything from Sun at all, so I am kind of happy for this. But it has let's see, this is 2018, so it's just from a couple years ago for Record Store Day. Let's see, it has Betty Harris, Robert Parker, Johnny Adams, Big John Hamilton, Marilyn Haywood, Samson Delilah. On side A, side B has Doris Allen, The Jesters, The United Notions, Heather Black, Randy and the Radiants, and Half a World Away. I can't say I've heard of any of them off the top of my head. That doesn't mean anything to me. So I am excited to give that a spin. Maybe find a couple new artists to start collecting. And then this one I was a little surprised about. Definitely not unpleasantly surprised, but Louis Armstrong, Basin Street Blues. Let's see here. From Black Lion Records, such a reissue series. Recorded live in 1956-57. First time ever on vinyl. It was pressed on 180 gram audiophile grade vinyl at Palace in Germany. So you got Louis Armstrong playing trumpet and vocals, of course. You got Trummy Young on trombone, Ed Hall on clarinet, Billy Kyle on piano, Dale Jones on bass, and Barrett Deems on drums. And then you've got When Is Sleepy Time Down South, Indiana, The Gypsy, and Basin Street Blues on side A, side B. You got Tiger Rag, strutting with some barbecue. Do you know what it means to miss New Orleans? It's supposed to be New Orleans, but let's face it, it rhymes. On the sunny side of the street, and When the Saints Go Marching In. Oh, come on, focus. There you go. So yeah, it looks like Orgy's also put out some other Black Lion titles. You got some Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, a couple of Monk volumes, Dexter Gordon. So I open it up. I see Sun. I go, okay, well, we know Sun Records. Take a look at the back. Okay, I have no idea who any of these people are because they're not Johnny Cash. And then I see the Louis Armstrong. Okay, you know what you're getting there in this Mike Watt and the Second Men Chronics thing. So those are my most recent finds. It's been pretty slow going. With some stuff was in the air for a while on for the job. Whether we're only gonna get paid for the first time before the extension happened, and then everything else that's come afterwards. So most of the stuff was bought like pretty much right before the stay at home had started, and the couple of shops that sell vinyl over here are closed. The store over in Canada that I normally go to is closed down. And even if it wasn't, the borders pretty much shut down to all non-essential personnel, which basically just means doctors and nurses and stuff. Um, so it's been pretty slow for vinyl on this front. I've been looking at some of the somewhat near record stores that I frequented on their Discogs or their websites and stuff, but quite frankly, just with the funk and everything, I haven't really been into anything specific, so I haven't made any purchases. But some of the states are starting to reopen a little bit. Something like Michigan might be coming close to starting to reopen some stuff. So we'll see, what happens here in the next couple of weeks. But anyways, I hope everybody is staying safe out there. Hope everybody's, healthy. Nobody is dealing with this crud that's going around. Hopefully it hasn't hit, friends or family, or if they are, I hope they're on the mend. So just follow the guidelines, stay home, spin some music, and talk to you next time.